What's up, beautiful people? It's your girl, Leanne. I'm getting blissed out with my dear friend, Jaisri Lambert. We are back at it again with Shedding into Soul Culture podcast number 15. These wonderful podcasts are highlighting how we shed through many, many layers in discovering our soul, our consciousness, and methodologies that are life transforming, nurturing, and grounding. So we have had a couple podcasts already, and you can go back into the files and you can look at them, where Jaisri had an opportunity to share some basics about the doshas, seasonal stuff that you want to be aware of. And now we're going to move into integrating the divine masculine and feminine with Ayurveda. So Jaisri, I'm handing that over to you. You can start with your offerings.
Morning. We'll start with a small prayer.
Mm.
Om Gananam Tva Ganapatim Havamahe Kavim Kavinam Upamastravastamam Jeshtarajam Brahmanaspatanaha Shrunvanutibihi Siddhasadanam Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Siddhi Buddhi Shakti Sahita Shriman Mahaganadipataye Namo Namaha Nirvignam Kuru.
So good. So good.
The opening prayer is always to Sri Ganesh. He is the Ishta Devata of my great mentor and teacher, Vaidya Sant Lat, with whom I've studied since 1988, approximately, until now. I still continue like a new student. So today's question is regarding the balance of male and female, masculine and feminine energies according to Ayurveda. So first we'll understand that yoga and Ayurveda are truly sister sciences, sister and brother. So what does it mean? It means the same philosophy of Sankhya, of Kapila, the great sage Kapila, how he wrote about the creation. What is the creation? How is it generated and created? And it's, first of all, the concept of the Purusha and the Prakriti. So here is the first great division between masculine, the conscious, passive awareness, and Prakriti, the manifested creation. So the Purusha is considered to be a rather male type energy, and the Prakriti is considered to be more of a feminine projection because it is created. So in French, it is la création, la nature, right? It's Mother Nature. It is planet Earth, la terre. So these are very feminine concepts in the cosmic interpretation. So from the Purusha and Prakriti precipitated the manas, the universal mind or cosmic mind. So all this is under the feminine principle. All this is under Adi. Everything that is measurable, that is qualifiable, quantifiable, is in the feminine principle because it is the creation. Now, of course, within the creation, again, balance is needed between male and female for maintenance, sustenance, sustainability, balance, functionality, equality, keeping the whole thing in equilibrium. So within the creation, within the manifested creation, the first concept is the manas, the cosmic intelligence, the universal mind, which is maintaining order in everything, maintaining awareness of one another as energy, and creating the intelligence as well to always revert to balance. So no matter what happens in nature, hurricane, seasonal change, always this intelligence is working towards maintaining balance, whether here on planet Earth or anywhere in the cosmos. So this is a very reassuring concept, I feel, because we might feel in the micro picture that things are getting out of balance, male and female, but in the macro picture, no, that doesn't happen. So these small changes may occur, even if they take up yugas at a time. They are still temporary, temporal. They still belong to time, chronos, the qualifier of, how would I say, the limited, the temporal, that which is ruled by time. So as we look further into the Sankhya model of creation, according to Kapila, we can see now that within the manifested reality, within the creation itself, the very macro feminine principle, we can see that the ahankar generates itself. And the ahankar is the ego or self-identification. This is where desire begins. So why did the Buddha say be desireless? So that we don't reincarnate into this world, because it's a dual world of suffering, of gain and loss, of stability and instability, of happiness and sadness. So it is the realm of experience of good and evil, if you will. So these are the broad divisions. Ahankar now attracts an individuality. Its soul has separated from the Purusha and individuated itself by desire, and now takes on a specialized ego identification or self-identification, not a selfish one, but one that is concerned with self, that is to say, self-identity. So this ahankar now is still not embodied. It still doesn't have a gender per se, but through these various desires, choices, preferences, the soul does migrate to one or the other. And we do see a large percentage of children that are born, and this has always been so, by the way. I'll tell you a little bit of clarification about this shortly, but the idea that the human race is equal, male and female, there have always been hermaphroditic exceptions. I remember going to the McGill Library when I was a student and working in McGill years ago in the 70s. And in the McGill Library at that time, this was before computers, of course, I used to go and read medical textbooks because that was my great interest, the science of the human body, how it works, why things happen the way they do. And so I read about children who were born with both genital forms, both male form and female form. And there were significantly large number of exceptions, something like 2,000 per million, which is really a big percentage in statistical analysis. So at that time, the physicians were surreptitious, did not tell the parents, that they simply did the operations clandestinely and did not divulge. So nowadays, this is not done. This became self-regulated within the profession. And so nowadays, the children that are born are gender fluid in that percentage, in that very same percentage that has always existed, what in Native culture they call two-spirit beings. That is to say, they have the spirits of both male and female. So this is very significant in that where is the line of demarcation? We really have no line of demarcation between masculine and feminine, even though these gender identifications are referred to as the two castes, male and female. In some cosmologies, more in the Sikh tradition, they're deemed to have two castes, whereas in Hinduism, there are four castes. So it's very interesting, and it's all of a different nature. But when we study this question of what is the balance between male and female in the human body, immediately the first thing is the Ida and Pingala channels of right and left nostril. So we know the caduceus, the double-headed serpent symbol of all medical sciences worldwide, which depicts the double-headed serpent with the head and tongue in the ears where the sound current emanates, because this universe is light, masculine, and sound, feminine. Do you see? And there are different nomenclatures where these are actually opposite, le son et la lumière. So these are very interesting histories of language to try to define where is this line of demarcation, what is masculine, what is feminine. There is a middle ground where it is very fluid and indistinct. So the Ida and Pingala, right nostril, left nostril, these are the primary channels of heating and cooling energy. So masculine is deemed to be more heating. It's deemed to be more involved in right side functions, liver, which is governed by Mars, planet Mars, and the left side energies with pancreas, spleen, which have balancing functions to liver and gallbladder in the human body. So right and left channels, if they're balanced, which they're not in most people, by the way. Most people, if we draw a line down the center line, we will see a little bit different right side identity and left side identity, whether it's how closed the eyes are, whether it's which nostril is open at that particular moment, because the breath will alternate right nostril and left nostril approximately on average every 90 minutes. So now we're in the realm of pure science, and we notice that we at night may turn over every approximately 1.5 hours, or somewhere in between 1.5 and 2 hours, depending on the person's metabolism. The slower the metabolism, the longer they will stay on the one side. And the more rapid the metabolism, the more frequent they will toss and turn from one side to the other. So this does correspond to some degree with Vata characteristics, Kapha characteristics, and Shushubna, the center line, the Pitta, the middle path of the balancing point where these, if we go back to the caduceus symbol, the double-headed serpent crossing at the throat chakra, crossing again at the heart chakra, solar plexus, etc. All these divisions that show that the energies that move down and up are actually interacting and creating certain whorls, if you will, or eddies or chakra systems that are circulating energies. These two have also been measured with Kirlian photography. Any sensitive energy worker can feel with their hands what is the flow, direction, temperature of the chakra system. So again, we're seeing how masculine and feminine energies are constantly working together equally, note, not one dominating another, equally, absolutely equally. If there is any dominance, that's where we find disturbance to nature, disturbance to the environment, disturbance to the family, disturbance to society, disturbance to the individual, causing perhaps symptoms. There are many causes of symptoms, and one of them is disparity between Ida and Pingala channels. So this is where the pranayama practice becomes a wonderful way day to day, mornings especially, for equilibrating the masculine and feminine principles within, whether we are incarnated as male or as female dominant.
You know, I have an inquiry there. I think the interesting thing when you bring it up about disturbance, right? I just think like what sets off even people that are interacting too energetically. I feel like the disturbance within one person would be like anybody that would be toxic. So if somebody has a toxic lifestyle, for example, lots of drugs, stuff like that, are they disturbing their whole if you're saying that the feminine and the masculine are always even, in somebody who has a toxic body, is it still even?
Of course not. No, no. Now, where does this disturbance begin? It begins where the buddhi, the individuated mind or intellect belonging to ahankar, makes a certain decision or unconscious preference for something imbalancing, something like a choice to use drugs as compared to use a meditation practice. So these are the individual choices at the level of ahankar and even buddhi, lower level of mental choice, to engage in these karmas, which again are going to have coming and going. So all karma has cause and effect. All karmas have a relationship of equality, which can equate in a certain sense to masculine and feminine principles.
Mm.
So of
I
course they
I
are.
find it interesting because I'm feeling like, you know, the natural state of like disturbance that comes to anybody's life in toxic relationships. Also, like when we talk about all of us having good health in our wholeness, is what we associate with our ankaras, right? So I feel like even the association of those ankaras in the suffering of this world, they deviate us even from feeling balanced in what we associate with.
Yes, absolutely. In this sattva, rajas, tamas matrix, which is the subtle essences of vata, pitta, and kapha, they're in this more psycho-spiritual realm is where the choice first becomes disturbed and then precipitates down into an actual material choice to eat the chocolate bar, order the deep fried chicken, uh, like that, following society as compared to following a true alignment with nature and oneself.
That's very powerful. Well, we look at the reality of obesity in the world, and then we talk about Ayurveda or yoga. And I was being reminded last night doing an online course with kids yoga too, is like the functioning of what we can slowly prep into reminders of the pure consciousness that comes into existence, and then the habits and the habitual habits of our generations, you know. So like, I mean, my parents would just talk out loud about toxic habits and stress and mind, you know, versus being in alignment with source, is the habitual habits of like breeding big families and then lack of communication, lack of connection with children, children figuring out a lot on their own, but then also the accumulation of old habits, you know, the cigarette generation we came out of, you know, like that old generation that my parents were in, the alcohol. I mean, and this is not to say anything bad about family, but like when I was growing up as a little girl, I'd go to visit my aunt, and they're all getting their makeup done with a glass of vodka first thing in the morning,
Mhm.
right? And that generation had gone through using alcohol as their fire system with big families, family of 13, family of 9, and my mom's. And the reality of their fun, or like you talk about temptation, or the different aspects of desire that we all have, and what are the effects of that long term with happiness?
Absolutely. No, we are making our happiness or otherwise with every single decision of the day. And absolutely. So let's go back then to the matrix of the sattva, rajas, and tamas, and how the body is actually formed by a shuttle formation within the cosmos to attract the soul to the designated parents. So then they, by destiny karma, we won't go into all that, the difference between destiny karmas and free choice karmas, but we may touch on it a little bit just to understand. First of all, they're born through the destiny karmas to those particular parents with particular attributes and destiny awaiting them when they meet their partner, when they meet their guru, if at all fortunate to do so, when they come to a spiritual awakening of one type or another. It can be any spiritual awakening through any style or tradition. I call it an outfit. And through that, they live out their karmas, how many children are destined for them to have. And all this will be written in the Patrika, in the birth chart. So yes, each one has these Kriyaman karmas, the free will karmas, to decide what to have for breakfast, whether to go to school or skip school, whether to, when one does meet the partner, whether to develop a pure unconditional love along that single path, or to decide that, oh, maybe the grass is greener and I'll try out some other option. And these are all unconscious factors. And gradually the super consciousness will take hold in the spiritual evolution by nature itself, by the unfolding of time, right? So these are things that can't be rushed. And then the spiritual awakening unfolds, and gradually the higher consciousness discriminates better and better with mastery of the senses. So this is very much part of the yamas and niyamas of yoga. And Patanjali is very linked, very much a link between yoga and Ayurveda as sister sciences, brother sciences.
Mm.
So yoga being more for the mental faculties, the spiritual faculties, and Ayurveda being more for the physical body, balance and health in the organs, tissues, and levels of consciousness. Because the one of the levels of consciousness, the 5 koshas, is the Jnanamaya kosha, and another is Vijnanamaya kosha. These are acculturalizations. These are the belief systems that we acquire from outside rather than from inside. Inside, we're all knowing inwardly.
Mm.
Everything is available to us inwardly to discern, choose wisely, have happiness as a result. But before that awakens, there's the unconscious phase where we're bound by previous karmas, previous choices, previous unfoldings, and the blessings that we're due, or learning opportunities that we're due.
Yeah, I always had this curiosity because of some personal experiences. I think if we don't experience something where we're like, okay, how is it possible to achieve this state of consciousness with this amount of toxic behavior, right? And there's a big thing in the Shivite sampradayas, where there's a lot of personal suffering that they attain in order to receive power, or the use of hashish or marijuana, the bong. And there's a lot of yogis that are doing a lot of different types of sadhana, where I've had so many aspects of sadhana in my own environment, of my own body for many years, that I could really feel like I feel like there's a gift of every herb. Being an Ayurveda, I'm sure you understand this. There's a gift of every herb, but at what level is it being used or utilized for absorption of internal learning, right? Because the expansion of these tools, for example, like when I do even pranayama, how I alkaline my body, and how much I'm going to need of that alkaline methodology first thing in the morning, just to have a great day, to be creative and to be functioning. So there's a lot to this wonderful powerful work of the non-judgment, the non-duality, that even I feel, like you said, like the foundations there is pure. You don't come in the world with all this stuff, you leave without this stuff. And then all the learning through it, with the ankaras and the choices that everybody's making, I feel is also your DNA, your family life, your mixtures, and then the unlearning of that, but then also mixing with love. Like you talk about relationships, like soul merge I had 4 years ago with somebody else, and fully embodying somebody else without even meeting that person, and thinking about my own divine masculine and feminine, and then a merge of energies on top of that, and then Brahm Jyoti and Shiva and Shakti, and like the whole mind game, right? And then the medicines that are being put into the body, the toxic environment, like energetic stuff that I had to weave out of. I'm like, that's not me. That's not me. Cancel, 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 cancel. and then at the same time grow and learn. Because it's interesting when we talk about toxic behavior, how meditation slows us down to be present with divine, and then different methodologies that are ongoing all through different sampradayas, behavior patterns with the masculine and feminine within individuals and their growth with nirvana.
Yeah, you've mentioned a lot of concepts there. So let's try to unpack a couple of them at least. And one is the role of the mind with vivek or discrimination. Another one is the role of karma with regards to genetics. So let's take at least those, shall we, a little bit,
Beautiful.
briefly?
Yeah.
So the mind stuff is the key, actually, because mind can be involved in sattva, rajas, or tamas. Sattva state of mind does reveal a certain vivek or discrimination or capacity to choose the high road as compared to the low road or habitual road or common in society road, and to agree to participate in these causes that will bring suffering as an effect, whether it's the cigarettes, whether it's the alcohol, whatever it is. They're among the yamas and niyamas of, especially niyamas of Patanjali. There we find pretty much the full description of what to avoid and what to choose. What are those discriminations, how to apply them so that we end up with happiness, productiveness, a clean body that can do practices, that can sustain meditation, that can die, yes, with toxicity to some degree, but with less than perhaps it was possible to obtain or imbibe by following following the crowd, if you will. One instead then follows one's own inner impulses from one's own mental discrimination in order to enjoy those effects that are going to be helpful in the big picture of the journey of the soul. So journey of the soul will take on a mind, it will take on then a body, it will take on then parents, and it will then take on experience. So all these in the great play of life are in the destiny karmas. So that's how the genetic factor, are we like our parents? We are not our parents. Do you see? We are distinct from our parents. We are the new generation from our parents. And that happens each and every time. That's why it is difficult to be equal with the parents, because there's a 20, 25, 30 years difference in age. There's a tremendous difference in the acculturalization, the Jnanamaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, but certain things are universal that we can adhere to, that are truth, that the path of love is the path of unconditionality. It's the path of liberation from suffering and delusion, that love is the panacea. It doesn't matter which stream of consciousness, Buddhism, Zoroastrianism, Christianity, following Muhammad's teachings, all come back to one principle, which is the path of love. So yoga is the very same through Kapila. So certain things are unchangeable. Be good, do good is a universal truth. So as long as we're following some simple basic truth that, such as that, then we're steering ourselves in a good direction, and everything would be revealed at a right time. Whatever choices are at hand, we then have the inner strength increasing to choose that which is sattvic, truthful, lasting, universal, and that which will go with the soul after the departure from this body.
So good. We're running through our timeline right now, but I feel like this is another really great podcast to continue next week, to continue to expand, because there's so much in this area of divine masculine and feminine, relationship wise, We talk about the body, what the emotions go through. We can even go into the aspects of, the yogic perspective versus the tantric perspective. There's just different ways of the left and right channels here. And there's so much to expand on this one beautiful topic. And I really feel this is where a lot of people are deeply in their emotional body as they come into the world. And a big thing when we go through this awakening, Kundalini and the Shiva Shakti merging within me, I feel we get to micro look through every layer of our life and like really feel again and really remember and like really absorb, oh, this is me as a whole being. Wow, super powerful. Because we're running through these chapters. And then when we find that center and we find that samadhi and we have that Kundalini rise, we are that inner Godhead observing the whole story. Right? So there's so much to continue to expand with our emotional body and how the emotions, or what they call the nine faces of Ras, the beauty of that, and how the expressions that we can utilize methodologies to transform with things like Ayurveda and the wonderful things that you're doing with creating food and information about the basis of Ayurveda. You're getting out to the community, you're sharing so much. And, I'm just your humble friend. And also your aspiring divine student at the same time. And timelines are all about timelines with our karma and our destiny. But I am so honored to show up with you every time, to hear from your heart, to hear how you weave your own gifts of even the caduceus. Before we go, I'll just give you a little highlight about the caduceus. I had opened up a portal of Egypt when Mother Isis was calling me through healing. And using the Merkaba of as above, so below. And I had her full embodiment meet me in my bedroom. This black energy moved and swayed through existence into meet me. Very powerful, very divine. But as I talk about the caduceus listeners and how we hear about Kundalini or caduceus, these symbols of the serpent divine power is so transcending in the liberation of ourselves as a divine angel, a divine Godhead, a divine liberated being. And so Mother Isis had brought me my wings. For 48 hours, I felt those open in my back chakra of my heart. And those experiences, audience, are priceless. But when we talk about them and having these internal experiences and doing the inner work, is it real? Are these things working? Yes, stay on the path. These interviews, these moments of like meeting a divine sister with very similar synchronicities in her life, shed wonderful, wonderful, tremendous amount of work that she's put into her life. I honor you. I honor you for opening with a prayer. And as I close with a prayer with hands folded, be the light unto yourself in the stillness of darkness. And we will add to this wonderful topic about integrating the divine masculine and feminine with Ayurveda, and more topics to come soon, listeners. So good to be with you, Jaisri.
Thank you, my dear. And until next time.
Namaste.